Hey, what's going on, everybody? Cody here with Channel for the Southern Indiana Kentucky team. Hey, I wanted to shoot a quick video here talking about three things. I want to talk about Sidedress applications, and then I want to talk about herbicide applications, and I also want to talk about some symptomology that I have seen become a little more prevalent here in the last couple weeks on soybeans in regards to some herbicide damage or symptomology. So I want to jump into that last one I mentioned first, and I'm going to turn the camera around here so you guys can actually see what I'm talking about real quick. All right, so this is what I wanted to mention, is some of this what we typically call drawstringing effect. So if you notice, it kind of looks like somebody took the middle vein of this leaf and just pulled it towards the base where it pulled that tip in, okay? So this is a normal looking leaf, right? And then we jump over to what I would consider kind of a drawstringing symptomology. This is very common from our Group 15 herbicides. And this field was planted about a month ago. Residual chemistries and burn down happened about 10 days prior to that, immediately after the conventional tillage. And that was Roundup, Dicamba, and Zidua, which is the Group 15 in this case. And I've seen quite a bit of that this year, is just some of that Group 15 drawstringing. And it's easy to mistake that for some other things, but that's definitely a Group 15 injury. And I'm hesitant to even say injury because it's very unlikely that it causes any yield loss. But the other thing that we have seen quite a bit of is some PPO damage, and that typically looks more like a necrosis or some dark brown, almost black looking lesions that look kind of like maybe they've been splashed up, oftentimes on the cotyledons or unifoliates. We have seen quite a bit of that as well. But those products are, things like your Sharpen and sulfentrazone, and there's a long list of PPO chemistries. That definitely does not look like Group 15 like I just showed you here on this leaf right there. Those are products like Zidua, Warrant, Dual. Some of those products are all Group 15 herbicides. There's a bunch of different types of generic names, but anyway, that is typical Group 15 symptomology. So I wanted to just kind of bring that to your guys' attention. Now I'm going to switch the camera back around, and we're going to have a little bit of a discussion on herbicide applications within the next couple weeks. So, all right, so something that I have gotten a lot of phone calls on here in the last probably 5 days is, should I be making herbicide applications in this, what I would consider abnormally dry weather that we're having? And I've gotten the question, both corn, soybeans, both directions basically. And so my thing is, it really depends on how clean your fields are right now. So the thought here is, hey, it's really dry. We're going to make these applications. The residual chemistries aren't going to do anything anyway because there's no water being activated. So we can wait to make those applications to a little bit later in the season. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as your fields are clean. So if your fields aren't clean, right, you've got maybe a flush of water hemp or something like that coming up, I would be a little hesitant to wait, just knowing how fast those water hemp and other weeds can grow. So if you've got a flush of weeds, I'd go ahead out there, I'd spray like you normally would, I'd take care of those, get them knocked out, put your residuals down. You're not really going to be losing your residuals just because they're not being activated. They're just going to sit out there until they get a rain. And the beauty of that is, in a lot of parts of our territory, it's beginning to get dry enough now that you don't actually have any new weeds germinating because it is so dry. So you won't need that residual chemistry anyway until it rains, and then you'll be in a lot better position. You'll already have the residual out there. You'll kill any weeds that were already there, and so you should be doing good things. Now that's on corn and soybeans both. That soybean field I just showed you, it's very clean. It's probably going to be another 7 or so days before we make any application to that field. The one thing I will say is you got to be careful from a staging perspective in regards to how soon you make those applications or how late you wait, really. Pay attention to whatever products you're using. Make sure you're making those on-label applications. Don't go over because you can inadvertently have some crop damage. And so I just, don't wait too long. If you've got clean fields, you can wait a little while, but pay attention to what you're spraying and pay attention to that label. But I'm about to show you a little different situation where, I know, hey, in this cornfield, we've got some issues. We've got some weed breaks coming through that are to be expected at this point in the season. But real quick, I will show you that. All right, so these are the biggest problem that I'm running into, right? So we're in a cornfield here. Corn stage is about V6 roughly, and I am seeing a decent chunk of water hemp pressure. And honestly, this is actually a fairly reserved amount to some of the fields that I have walked. This guy, you know, if you were to wait a week or two on this, you know, this water hemp's going to grow 1-2 inches a day in the right conditions. I mean, it's going to get really big really fast. So I would be really cognizant about making sure, you know, you really truly do have clean fields if you're going to wait. Because if you don't and you have little water hemp coming up, they will be big in a hurry. Now, obviously, the other reason that we've got to make something happen here is, you know, this corn is V6. Some of this stuff is going to be off-label here in a hurry. So just kind of be mindful of that. Yeah, so this is a no-brainer. Absolutely got to spray. But just be careful waiting if you already have weed pressure that's out there. So now on to the next conversation. I'm gonna turn the camera back around and we're gonna talk about sidedress. All right, last topic we're gonna discuss. This video is getting a little longer than I wanted, but I did want to cover these things. So side dressing corn, I've gotten the question a lot about, hey, should I keep going? Should I wait? What should I do here? And if you're making a surface application of nitrogen, so that's usually one of two ways, right? You're either putting urea on or you're putting liquid on in like a Y drop form, or you're dribbling it on, or whatever that may be. I would be very, very hesitant to making any of those kinds of applications. Just because across most of the territory we're already dry, so there's no moisture on the soil surface. And then on top of that, the forecast looks very unfavorable when it comes to nitrogen loss, right? So we've got really hot temperatures, we've got sunny conditions, and we've got dry weather. That is the perfect, all the stars are aligning for a lot of volatilization loss, which we get when we put nitrogen on the soil surface. So a volatilization inhibitor is gonna help, right? But those products only last so long, and the extended forecast is still pretty hot and dry. So I would wait if you can, right? Some cases the corn's gonna get away from you and you gotta do something. So in those scenarios, hey, absolutely, go ahead and put the nitrogen on. Now, if you're incorporating it, not as big a concern from a volatilization perspective in regards to loss, but I would still, I would still make the same argument. Hey, if the corn's still small, I'd give it a little bit longer, right? You don't typically see a bunch of nitrogen uptake until you get around that V6, V7 time frame, and that's when things really start to ramp up. So if you got V2, V3 corn, hey, no big deal. I'd wait on that if you can. I know logistics are different for everybody's operation, but I'd probably wait on that until it got a little bit bigger, and hopefully we get some rain, and then it makes everybody feel a little more confident in the rest of the growing season. So those are my thoughts on sidedress applications and herbicide applications, and a little bit of herbicide injury I'm seeing on soybeans. So as always, if you guys have got questions, please reach out. Thank you.